give them a great walking start, pun intended, maybe a little bit more.
Okay. With that, resolution 14297 reads as follows. Whereas Dean Ross is the owner of a shoe store operating under the name of Doc Shop, and whereas Mr. Ross moved his store to Red Bank earlier this year and found himself with an abundance of inventory, and whereas rather than sell the overstocked items to a broker, he decided to donate them to the children of the borough of Red Bank, and whereas Mr. Ross, who is a graduate of Red Bank school system, has offered to give hundreds of pairs of new shoes to children of the borough, asking only that they provide proof of residency, and whereas he has said his employees have donated their time to open early and on two consecutive Sundays to accommodate the distribution of the shoes, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Red Bank to commend and congratulate Dean Ross for his thoughtfulness and his incredible generosity to the children of Red Bank, and be it further resolved to also commend the employees of his Doc Shop business for donating their time to help distribute this generous gift to the children of Red Bank. Dean, congratulations. Having been the chairman of the Brent Leveling Board for all those years and a number of other activities, including the old Red Bank Chamber of Commerce, I know you never lost for words. At least you weren't when I opened up the Doc Shop that night. So please, why don't you've got some employees and friends here, and your best business associate is right here taking a picture. She keeps the books, doesn't she?
No, she does.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm only kidding. I know who she is.
No, I just made a small, I think we made a small difference. And like I said before, I got more hugs and high fives that day, and that was worth everything. And also, a lot of people don't know, but your mother also altered my daughter's wedding dress.
She did a good job.
She did a great job also. So, but my heart and soul has always been in Red Bank, and my wife volunteers at the senior center. We're Lincoln residents, but we love Red Bank. Our heart and soul's in Red Bank. They'll always will be. So, but again, hopefully some other people, I know there's a lot of generous people that donate time and activities and equipment to the Red Bank residents. So I think our little contribution helped in a little way.
I just have one more request from you.
What's that?
And I knew you had the other residents in Red Bank, and then you moved to Shrewsbury. But now that you're downsizing a little bit more, two of you ought to move back to Red Bank.
Give us a
So you're
tax
always
break
welcome
and
back.
we'll think
So
about it.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And also that day, we had so many wonderful volunteers. We had, I think, 16 plus volunteers. I gave David Brown a call, and we got people coming. So and all our volunteers helped. So it was a great day. The weather cooperated, and so it was a great day. So anyway, thank you for the run.
Thank you.
And Mr. Ross, I just wanted to add to the comments that the mayor made. The level of excitement that you generated through this generous program really thrilled and touched an awful lot of people in town. I mean, from the volunteers like Barbara Royce, who was there with me that day, all the way down to the kids that were online who had just started school. We're just all thrilled and touched. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say thank you too, because you said it's something little, but it was something big for a lot of kids. And it only takes one, so thank you for being that one.
And I'd like to say one thing too, because I've known Dean Ross since the 80s, and I've known his wife since grammar school, and what Dean did was just phenomenal and so appreciated in Red Bank, and you know it. And it was so organized, and it just flowed for those days, and it was just a wonderful thing. And Dean, you were a great guy, and if he wasn't giving away shoes, he'd be giving away bagels. Because he's done that before too.
Yeah,
So,
David, thank
thanks.
you very much. I know you have a couple of businesses in the community and known each other a long time. Still buy my shoes from you, so thank you very much for your generosity.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Dean, you're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but
See ya.
I know that your business partner, his major stockholder, is suggesting otherwise.
I told him I'd take him out to dinner for him.
Oh, thank you.
Something fancy, you know?
Thanks again.
Good night. Thank you.
I don't mean to be rude, and thank everybody. So, thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks again.
Thanks. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
It's okay.
Cost me 300 churches.
Very nice.
Once in a while, I clean up, I know.
no apron.
Have a good dinner.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilman Dupont, a second.
Second, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 14296 is a resolution authorizing an emergency appropriation pursuant NJSA 48446. Michael, you want to address this? Or Eugenia?
Gina, if you could, because I lost my notes.
Okay.
This is just basically it for, that we got some tax bills that we have to refund, and the resolution authorizes us to bring them into the budget to be able to pay them. That's basically what it is.
Make that motion there.
And again, this is just to adopt the resolution that previously had been authorized by the council, because it's a finance resolution. There has to be an enabling ordinance, which is also reflected.
You know, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Instead of taking a bond out for this, is there any way we could have been like more creative on this? Could we have taken, say, 300,000 out from our water utility and something from the parking instead of bonding out, or
Well, we don't have 300,000 in parking. That's the first thing.
for water utility?
But the state of New Jersey, through Governor Christie and the legislature, has given the municipalities the appropriate authority and the benefit of essentially bonding, which is a low-interest loan, if any interest at all at this point, from the state to enable us to refund it within a period of 5 years, which is what this does. Now, the benefit is that it does not affect the tax base, because the actual bonding indebtedness has been reduced between last year and this year for a total of about $2 million in just that period alone. So it's not going to increase our reserves for indebtedness next year. As a matter of fact, it's not going to have any effect on it at all. That's why, at the recommendation of the CFO and our auditor, it is being done in this fashion, so it would not have any direct effect on the taxpayers.
And finance chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, and the finance chair. Sorry about that. Okay, any other questions?
Make a motion there.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion to resume regular order of business. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The one item on New Jersey Transit temporary closure of Route 35 is off the agenda since that was done. It's over, and it was done before anticipated to be complete. Second is the electric car charging station. Ed, are you doing that, or Stanley doing that?
I'm just pleased to announce that the Borough of Red Bank's DPW staff painted the curb and the sign last week, that the charging station is up and running. I know there was some issues with the kiosks, Stanley. I think those have been addressed, correct?
Yes. Yes, the pay station kiosk is installed, and now we have on the agenda revision to the ordinance to establish the fee for the charging station, and also to put in regulations that that space is only to be used by hybrid or electric vehicles that are going to use the charging station, so that we don't get somebody just parking there and not making use of the charging station. I think the ordinance is worded, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, generic enough that we can add parking stations without coming back to revise the ordinance. It says any designated space is restricted to those cars that are using the charging station, and the rate for that charging will be $2 an hour as opposed to $1 an hour or 50 cents an hour.
And it's on for this evening, right?
And it's on for this
As a
evening.
matter of fact, it's on your agenda
Yeah.
at ordinance 2014-20.
So we go forward and add, charging stations elsewhere, the ordinance applies to any designated charging station.
Any other questions on that? Okay, I think we're all in agreement on that, so we'll move forward, and it is on the agenda tonight. Approval of the minutes for September 24th. Motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay, approval of the minutes for October 8th. Motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No appointments, report of mayor and council committee members. Art?
No report, Mayor.
Cindy?
Yeah, I just have a quick code enforcement update. Like I said, I was going to do for the previous month. We had 11 code enforcement complaints. COs, we had 81 inspections and re-inspections. We had 2 overcrowding complaints, call-out complaints, 0, summonses issued, 18. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Kathy?
I just have one thing about the library. Their wine tasting benefit will take place on November 11th from 7 to 9:30 at the public library. It'll be $50 per person, and it's the Foundation for the Red Bank Public Library, which is hosting it, and I encourage everyone to go. They are still looking for sponsors, Elizabeth? Yes, so, and volunteers. So please contact Kathleen Brown, who is the executive director of the foundation, and her phone number, I guess it's the library's perhaps, 732-673-4384. It's $50 per person. I think I said that includes wine, of course, hors d'oeuvres and sweets. So November 11th, 7 to 9:30 at the public library. See you at the library.
Thank you. Buddy?
Just very quickly, the Parks and Rec Committee met on the 15th of October, and the items that we discussed were, we continue to discuss Bellhaven. We had 2 representatives from the Environmental Commission that were there with a plan and some, a proposal, some different ideas to look at. And then we also talked about the Marine Park improvements. That's it.
Thank you. Ed?
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to thank many of you who sent notes of prayers and good wishes to me and JP and my family during the dad's most recent health crisis. Especially my mom wanted to express her gratitude, Mayor. I know you always ask for all the love and support expressed to by so many of the colleagues in the community. I also wanted to congratulate Chrissy Ballard and her husband Steve on the arrival of their son today. T&M has a new associate, I guess. All are doing well. And then on October 24th, at the Bates Lodge, I participated on behalf of the Historic Preservation Commission at the Save the Thomas Fortune House Symposium and Fundraiser. I wanted to thank Mark Fitzsimmons and Gilda Rogers who worked so hard to put that together, along with the mayor for being there, and Kathy Horgan and Juanita Lewis and Johnson and Byrne for supporting the event. It was educational and informative. The DPW meeting this month will have to be rescheduled because of the League of Municipalities Convention. The Shade Tree Committee is coordinating planting dates with the New Jersey Tree Foundation for later this month. And please note that the engineer's status report is in tonight's packet. So review that, you'll see the ongoing progress of all of the projects going on throughout the borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Michael?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to congratulate Ed Ziprich for his victory, as well as Linda for her victory yesterday. But I also want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Juanita. She has played a vital and pivotal role up here. I've always respected her opinion. May not have always agreed with it, but I respected it because she's a very articulate and professional and competent woman. So I wanted to congratulate all of them on a good race, but in particular to say thank you for Juanita's years of service, her community involvement, her public service. I don't know how she did it, in light of the fact that she is an executive in a high-powered position, traveling constantly, has a extended family and cares for everyone, and you can show up at her door at any point in time and she will open it up. So it's very important that we acknowledge Juanita's gifts, but also to say thank you very, very much for her commitment to Red Bank and to the Mayor and Council.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yes, she's great.
Thank you, Michael. The loss of any member at any time, of a member of our extended family here is always very, very difficult. But although the official results are not in, I wanted to join in the appreciation and the extraordinary efforts that my consoeur, my sister, Juanita Lewis, has given and continues to give on this council. It's very easy for people to say, what does one do, without knowing what one does. And I certainly know the hours, dedication, and the constant attention 7 days a week that you've given since you've joined the family is not something that is negligible. It's had an extraordinary contribution to our community, and I think I've addressed those contributions over our period of time. So, although the results are not final, but I just want to thank you for your creative effort, because it's brought a dimension to this table in terms of our discussions that is extraordinarily needed. I also want to congratulate my brother, Ed Zipridge, for his fiery dedication and extraordinary commitment. And I know how much time and energy it has taken out of your life, and some of the challenges that you have in terms of familial obligations. And that's also important for all of us here. We're not you and I pass it, it's important for all of us. So you have our support, you have our congratulations, but more importantly, you have our friendship. And also I want to congratulate Linda for her dedication and commitment to the future of Red Bank. So one of the things I wanted to address, and what Kathy spoke about, is the library. And she's already addressed the library, but and again, I've spoken about this before, and just the night and day that has resulted with the library in just 6 months is that 6 months ago we were being criticized by the State Library Association, some of our friends at the State Library Association as to what is happening in crazy Red Bank. And that was 6 months ago. And this Saturday, not only have they backed off on whatever their questions were, but the State Library Association is having its state meeting at the Red Bank Library because they want to see the dramatic transformation that has taken place in a positive transformation. I want to thank our library director, I want to thank our staff, I want to thank the maintenance people, I want to thank the volunteers, the foundation, the people who use the library, because they've been responsible for that. And of course, Councilwoman Gordon.
The Board of Trustees.
And the Board. I was getting you.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that's what a great indication and an affirmation of us working together is being able to do something. But the same day that is the Library Foundation event is something that I want, or I wish all of our residents and also our council people and families and friends join us. And unfortunately, throughout the years, it's been reduced in terms of importance, but it is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most important days in Red Bank's history, and that is November the 11th, Armistice Day, Veterans Day. We will have our ceremony at 11 o'clock at the monument. We've always had it. We'll continue to have it. Hopefully, a lot of us can join. A lot of you can join us. And at that evening, for the first time in maybe about 50 years, at my suggestion, Trinity Episcopal Church and Father John, Rector John, at Trinity Episcopal Church will be holding an evensong service at 7 o'clock. A memorial service, prayer service for all the veterans that have served, especially since this is the 100th anniversary of World War I. It's appropriate that at least many of the generations that are no longer with us be remembered for a few moments. That starts at 7 o'clock.
Coincides with the library.
Yeah, so afterwards we can go to the library. So if you can attend, it'd be, but it's a new tradition I think we're going to try to start to remember our veterans, most of whom, especially in the World War I generation, are no longer with us.
We also have vets from Vietnam, from Afghanistan
Sure.
and Iraq, and it's very important that we acknowledge them as well.
Yeah. Okay. Communications and petitions by consent, all of you have it. There are a number of different matters listed. They've all been approved by the Special Events Committee. Is there a motion to approve en masse?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any members of the public have any comments on any ordinances or resolutions on the agenda for tonight's meeting? Yes? Come on up. Please state your name and your address, and we'll be happy to see if we can address it.
Karen Cohen, Harrisburg.
Yeah.
Just hold it for 1 second.
The light did go.
I just put the batteries in.
There it is. It's on.
It's on, but it's not on. Anyway,
We can hear
you
you.
can hear me.
Push it once, hold it, and then release, and see if it comes up in the window.
You push me down to mute
If you push it multiple times, it'll turn it on and off.
it. Mute it. Now it's off.
We would have had a question.
Okay, Karen Cohen, the 23 Wallace, the Metropolitan, still have the issue with the dumpsters. I've called the police. They asked us to bring down the code to show that the law was being broken. Wouldn't read it. It's escalated. I'm at my wit's end here. I don't
Okay,
care if it's...
can I ask you to hold on for a second? And I'm familiar with the issue, but if you could just hold that for a minute, only because it's not one of the resolutions. So if you could just have a seat for a second, we'll address it. Thanks. Okay, moving on for ordinances. First reading, ordinance 2014-14 is the refunding ordinance we spoke about earlier, providing tax refunds for overpayments and bonding out. Motion to introduce. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public hearing time will be when? November 24th at 6:30 p.m.
5 p.m. That's the one.
I'm sorry, November 24th at 5 p.m. My apologies. Ordinance 2014-22 is an ordinance making the provisions of Title I of Title 39 pursuant to Title 39-581 of the General Statutes of the State of New Jersey applicable to Walgreens. It's a very complicated title, but all it means is that if and when the Walgreens site plan is finished and there are parking regulations as well as ingress and egress regulations, and there are any violations, it permits the police department to enforce those violations on private property and also anybody passing through that private property at the request of the planning board. Motion to introduce?
So moved, Mayor. Second.
Second, okay, Councilman?
So this enables the enforcement to be done in the parking lot of the Walgreens, am I
That is
understanding that
correct.
By the police.
So if any of the conditions that were set at the planning board are violated by customers or people parking there, the Red Bank Borough Police
That is-
has the authority to...
We would not have the authority unless we pass this, so this is what it permits us to do.
Because I know this is a very delicate situation in that residential neighborhood over there, and I want to make sure that the
Yeah.
folks there have a leg to stand on.
That's why we're doing it.
And another critical component of that, which was important, I think, to the application and to the police department, is that forcing the no right-hand turn back onto Garfield Place, so that the police will be able to enforce that pursuant to this statute or ordinance.
Okay. Any other questions? There's been a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? A public hearing will be on November 24th at 5 p.m. Ordinances for public hearing and final adoption is ordinance 2014-19. It's an ordinance requiring mortgagee registrations relating to real estate property mortgages and default and providing for registration and requiring the maintenance of real estate property fees. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this ordinance? Seeing none, motion second to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve. This is just another option that I think, and another tool that gives the code to enforce the, our quality of life ordinances that we have. I think it's a wonderful ordinance. It should clean up any issues that we have regarding abandoned or vacant property. And so I'm fully in favor of this ordinance.
Okay, is there a second?
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Since it's an ordinance for final reading, roll call.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Burnham?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis?
Yes.
Councilman Goodrich?
Yes.
Councilman Dupont?
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted, it's ordered, published, and enforced, I guess, as soon as the police department can get a codified version. On resolutions by consent, unless there's an objection, resolutions have been provided to everybody. The resolution 14284. Oh, I'm sorry. I had it, the electric cars. It's so fast I forgot the electric car. Ordinance 2014-20 is the electric car. Ordinance, any members of the public wish to address on the electric car charging station? None. Motion to close. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilwoman Burnham?
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Lewis?
Yes.
Councilman Goodrich?
Yes.
Councilman Dupont?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted, will be published, and will be enforced by parking authority as soon as it's codified. Resolutions, unless there are any objections, resolution 14284 to and including 14295 can be moved and adopted by consent unless there's any questions on any one of them.
Yes. I have a question on 14295, Mayor.
Sure.
Regarding the Affordable Housing Alliance. That is not Red Bank Affordable Housing.
Let me explain what that is. And sometimes if you have questions on these, call me in advance and, we'll try to clarify it. In the past, the Borough of Red Bank has paid an employee to enforce.
I understand all of that, but if you want to go through that, that's okay.
I mean, this saves us a lot of money with what we're doing.
Yes, I
Yeah.
understand that, because we'd have to pay somebody to do that. But my question also is, what is the status of our co-obligation? Because I thought we had reached it. No?
If you've got about 2 hours to listen to the borough attorney tell you what the status of COA is in Trenton, as well as the Supreme Court dictate
Yeah.
in Mount Laurel, it's a very complicated issue, and I don't think I'm being snide about it, but it would be a rather extensive dissertation, but the net result is that we still have a co-obligation. The
Okay.
question is whether or not it refers to the round 1, round 2, round 3 obligations, or whether or not it refers to the underlying Mount Laurel 1 or 2. There are varying degrees of enforceability, and there's also the question of builder's remedy lawsuits, which thankfully we do not have, or builder's remedy or advocacy enforcement by any third-party advocacy groups. Red Bank has been fortunate to avoid those, and we haven't spent those money. We still have a co-obligation. It would be very difficult for me or for Dan O'Hearn to sit here and tell you exactly what that is, because it involves a number of years. It involves the type of projects coming in, if any are coming in. All I can tell you is that all of the development and the projects that are being approved and have been approved to see construction at the present time have been fully certified and met with their low and moderate income affordability obligations. The only thing that this resolution does is, instead of putting the onus on a borough employee to be paid $70,000 a year to do it, we subcontract out the enforcement to a third-party agency that does it for 10, 20, 30 different towns, and we pay a fraction of that cost, and it's a win-win for the residents of Red Bank.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't Red Bank Affordable Housing.
No, not at all.
Thanks,
No. Okay, any other questions?
Mayor, I just have to abstain on 1280, 285 and 295.
285 and 295?
Yeah, just
Okay. Any other questions on any of them? Okay, so Councilman Dupont abstains at 285 and 295. Other than that amendment to the voting, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, they're adopted. There are no proclamations, payment of vouchers. There are 2 vouchers. Yeah. Be it resolved by the mayor and council, the bills be paid on the attached check registry on one resolution amounting to $3,421,222.23. That would be for the October 22nd, 2014 voucher list. And the second resolution would be for payment of bills amounting to $1,198.35.02 for this evening's voucher list. Motion, Councilman Dupont. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any old business? Any new business? Audience? Ma'am, come on back up. And this is on the Metropolitan, and it's on the Great Swamp issue, which is the property between Mechanic Street and Wallace Street, which is owned by private property owners. And it deals with, just to refresh the council's attention, it deals with a couple of issues. One issue is the fact that the owners of the properties on Broad Street that need garbage or refuse pickup have independent cartage, obviously. They were told by the borough it would be in their best interest, and certainly the borough favored them all to get one person to do all of it, to get together. And so it deals with consolidation of the pickup by them and getting together, which makes sense and also would be cheaper for them. The second issue deals with the time of the pickup. The times of the pickups, because they're individual carters, some of them start before the crack of dawn and before midnight or whatever. But in other words, they're all over the place, and not only this particular resident, but other residents at the Metropolitan have been complaining about that issue. So in a nutshell, that's the preface to, I believe, your comments. And I believe that one of the things the council did, and I don't know if James Scavone is still here. Okay, is that River Center said that they were getting the property owners together, and they were hopefully providing one contractor that made sense for all of them to get together. We wanted them to do that. We still want them to do that. I don't know, maybe Stanley, you know, whether or not they have been successful in doing it. That's number one. Number two is, that's really a borough question, is whether or not we can set a sunrise provision and a sunset provision in terms of times of pickup, and I believe we do have the authority to do that.
Yeah, well, I guess, Mayor, I've seen towns set specific limits on leaf blowing and all the, I don't see why the resident would have to put up with it.
Would that be code? Would that be under
It's a code violation.
Well, it's a
That's
code
what I'm
violation,
saying.
but I
It's
guess the
code
real issue,
enforcement.
why don't we just, if we have a statute, why don't we just enforce the
Right.
statute?
Well, yeah, that's right. I'm summarizing what the issue is.
Yeah, it's enforcement. I don't care if you use one vendor or
So
five, it doesn't
therefore, why
matter.
wouldn't we just have a police officer, I don't know what your trash bin.
It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays,
So,
5
I don't know why
a.m.
we wouldn't just
Call
have a
y'all.
police officer go out
And
there.
that's a commercial, right?
It's commercial, yes. No, Art was great getting Borough to stop doing it, but there are 3 other nights of the week that they are still doing it.
So,
And I've spoken with the business owners there.
Right,
Yeah.
and excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. So I think what you need to think about, which is fine, because, I don't know, Stanley Pat, when we initiated having the merchants pick up their garbage on Broad Street, the question came into when are they going to pick up garbage? Because we didn't want the garbage trucks coming through town in the middle of the day up and down Broad Street. They have a tendency to do that, which in turn led to trying to get tonnage off of Broad Street to limit truck traffic, which is a problem. So I don't know, I don't think we have an ordinance for something being collected early in the morning, but listen, I have no problem sending the police over there and ticketing somebody to get somebody's attention, if that's what's allowed. But I think there was always talk about when the garbage was supposed to be picked up. And we might have set that tone early in the morning, because we didn't want the garbage trucks, because there wasn't just going to be one vendor, it could be several vendors, whoever they decide to go with, will be traveling through town. We have these problems on Monmouth and Broad Street in the middle of the day. So I think River Center might have brought that up. I don't think we have anything in writing saying that we can't do that. But if you want to get somebody's attention and write them a ticket, and then, they have to start picking up during the day, but you're going to have that traffic on Monmouth and Broad.
correct me if I'm
Unless we can
wrong.
divert that traffic,
Yeah.
and we can come up with an ordinance for tonnage on Broad Street, which we should have. I mean, they should be able to use Maple Avenue, you know, back and forth. There's only, like, tractor trailers, I see them go out down Broad Street. Listen, they do that because they're sightseeing. You know, and a lot of people do that. I mean, a lot of trucks do that. There should be a weight limit coming to Broad Street. As the problem lies, like everything else, I don't mean to bore you with this, but it comes down to the county again. It comes down to county with the crosswalks and down to counties with the road. I mean, if we can limit the tonnage coming up and down Broad Street, they can use the back roads to do it, but then they're cutting through the parking lots. But, you know, I don't know.
I think that the real crux of any buildup on Broad Street is really between business hours, and I don't think that the residents are being unreasonable, because I think the residents are saying, look, we know you gotta pick up the trash early,
Yeah, limit
but we don't
time.
mind 7 o'clock in the morning, we just don't want 5 o'clock in the morning,
That's
am I
right, 7 is
correct?
great.
Yeah. So I think if we do it like that, it should be fine.
It's fine.
Because they're not saying, we don't want you to start till 9 o'clock, they're
No,
not saying that
that's
at
just
all.
7, just not 5.
7 is
3
fine,
days a
but not
week.
5 or 4.
Yeah.
But can I ask
That's
Mr.
it.
Sickles, do we have a code enforcement that refers to this, that has anything to do with this?
I think the noise ordinance is not code enforcement, it's under the police general,
Oh, it's police.
Yeah, it's the-
general
it's the
ordinances,
ordinance.
nuisance ordinances.
It's 2018.
And the issue is getting the trucks in early so that they aren't encumbered by cars parked in the lot
Right.
when they come in. It's easier for them to negotiate when the lots are empty. So hopefully, I believe 7 a.m., as long as they pick up after 7, I think it should still be okay, with the exception of a couple of the food establishments. But I know we had a meeting the other day with River Center. They have been talking with the property owners, and the metropolitan owners have been involved with creating a centralized trash pickup in that location, which will make it a lot easier, be less trucks, it'll be one pickup. But that hasn't come to fruition yet, but that's sort of the goal.
But I still think that.
Just in the meantime.
We might be waiting for Godot on that, so let's just do the time, and 7 o'clock is reasonable, I don't see any problem
And we,
with
I
that.
did go to the police twice. Once they said, call back when they're still there, we can't take your word for it, they're gone now. And then when we did, the police officer argued.
Audrey, when are they there again? What days are they there?
This was last,
So
last
what days are they there? What
Oh,
day are they
Monday, this morning, usually not a Wednesday, but they were there, and Thursdays
there?
always.
Mondays and Thursdays for sure.
For sure. Yeah, sometimes 2 trucks at a time.
So I think that that's probably a way to address
Yeah,
it.
you don't have to.
Just 7 a.m., that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Sort out the multiple pickup, one
Yeah.
pickup, doesn't matter,
Right.
just 7 a.m.
There's been at least 3 conversations here with River Center as far as with this trash enclosure. I agree with you, I mean, they can powwow as much as they like, but we will enforce it. I fear St. James at 8 in the morning. What goes on, I see them line up on Mom Street at 7:45, the cars trying to make a right-hand turn and drop off at St. James. But all we can do is try it and see what happens, not to move it back
Yeah,
in
it
time.
takes them
but
15
just move
minutes.
ahead.
So if they do it at 7, they're
Yeah.
done by 7:15, those school
Yeah.
children are in.
Yeah, so we'll send somebody over there on Thursday, and we'll get somebody's attention. and
I'll be there
do that.
tomorrow at 5:20 a.m.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Yeah.
Does your attorney want to add anything?
No, she's being very patient, I'm taking her to Mount Easy after this.
Oh, okay, good.
So, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, thanks.
All right.
See you 5:20 with coffee.
Yeah, I'll call you.
Anybody else?
May I ask a question?
Linda?
It's working. Wow. Linda Schwabenbauer, 58 Leroy Place. First, let me say how much I'm looking forward to working with you and the other members of council.
Thank you.
Very excited about that, and I'd like to thank Ms. Lewis and Mr. Zipridge for running a very energetic and oftentimes creative campaign. I just have a question for you, and I hope I haven't missed my opportunity. It's on one of the ordinances that was new this evening. May I ask a question now? It's ordinance 2014-21.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. You had made a statement, and I've been sitting thinking it through, and I just don't understand it, so perhaps you could walk me through it. You're going to borrow $675,000, and it doesn't impact the taxpayers. Can you repeat why not?
I didn't say that, I said
Oh, I'm
it doesn't
sorry.
negatively impact
Got it.
taxpayers. And what I meant by that is that These are refunds that have to, by law, be given to property owners that have already paid their taxes under an assessment that was ruled by the Tax Court of New Jersey to be over what they should have been paying because it was based on an assessment which was beyond the scope of what the court deems correct. I mean, it's a tax appeal. So these go back to 2010, 2011, 12, and 13. They're multiple years. And so we acted on a resolution. What I said is that there are two ways to deal with those. Number one, you can cut out a check right now and refund it. And if you have it in the account, which we probably don't have $675,000 in surplus, according to our auditor and our CFO, or the state permits you to secure this fund from the state, which we will borrow from the state, and we will pay them back at a very low interest rate over a period of 5 years. And the repayment is spread out over 5 years. And what I said is that it doesn't negatively impact the tax rate because at least at the end of this year, we will have a substantial reduction of close to $2 million from the capital bond account that has been paid off. So if we're adding 675, it's basically a net reduction of the difference between 2 and 675. So it's not going to be an added tax surcharge to the individuals. That's what I meant.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, my question was, before I looked at the detail, was going to have been, do we put a reserve in place? Because the tax appeal is an annual thing, but when I looked at it, I see that they're actually related to 5 what appear to be commercial properties, and so the largest one is about $500,000 relating to the Presbyterian home. So it would appear that this came sort of out of the blue.
It didn't come out of the blue. That was in litigation for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And we fought the litigation with special tax counsel. It wasn't even Mr. O'Hearn because it's such a complicated, very, very specific type of issue. And it dealt with a ruling from the tax court, not just in Red Bank's case, but a ruling from the tax court that dealt with a number of similarly situated properties throughout the state. And they were essentially nursing homes. And the question is, how do you treat nursing homes in terms of the accessibility factor? And the court ruled that in this particular instance, over a number of years, certain parts of the nursing home could not be taxed at a certain rate that was exempt because of various legal requirements that dealt with the care of individuals under your care. For example, the atrium, most of it, I believe, is still taxable. But certain wings of the atrium now may not be taxed. They have to be tax exempt. So they had filed this appeal a number of years ago. It was pending in the courts for a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken.
This goes back to 2007.
Yeah, so it's in other words, we didn't roll over on this. Not just Red Bank,
sure we did.
not just Red Bank, but a number of other municipalities that had these large nursing homes that all applied as a sort of group. We're fighting them, and Princeton got hit very, very, very hugely also, like we did, and a number of other towns. But that's what the issue was. The issue was whether or not the traditional manner of assessing these nursing homes could be applied in what they did at the atrium. And in our case, it was the atrium. And we took the position, like every other town in New Jersey, that it was legally defensible for us to make sure that they carried their burden. And ultimately, the courts ruled against a number of municipalities, including Red Bank, in saying that they have to use a different standard, different tax exempt to a certain degree.
All right, I understand. That's fine.
Did I answer that right, Dan?
That's accurate. And just an interesting point here, too. You can see that typically you see the assessments go down, but the assessments have gone back up since they've made the improvements at the atrium. So we really got hurt in those earlier years, but the assessment has gone back up.
The new units, what Dan is saying, he's correct. The new units at the atrium as a result of their development that have sold, they are taxed at the full rate. But some of the older units in the middle floors are, because of requirements under the Medicaid Act and a number of other, the Health Care Act, are not taxable.
Okay, got it. So at the risk of boring everyone in the room with an accounting question, just one more question. What is our threshold, what is our standard for establishing reserves for these types of things? Typically, what I've seen in the past is we use a more likely than not standard. So if we think that it's more likely than not that we'll have to pay something out, we'll put up a liability for it, and then we're a little bit more prepared than not. But just how do we determine when we do that?
I think the finance committee, yeah, I was going to say, the finance committee looks at that on an annual basis.
I can take it as what we do and what we've been doing is, setting reserves, but we've also requested that we do that reval and participate in the pilot. Knowing that the Great Recession occurred the last 3 or 4 years, we knew, and if you look at the transcripts and even the public hearings of our budget hearings, we knew that this would be forthcoming. And thus, that's why we participated in the pilot program, and that's why we recommended to do the reval, because it's a weighing. Whether you pay the reval company to do the reval X amount of dollars versus paying the refunds. And hopefully with this pilot program that's going on here in Monmouth County, you're not going to see these huge swings.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda.
Anybody else? Okay. Any need for an executive session? Okay.
Motion to adjourn there.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.